So, I am Zach Fisher. I am interning with the National Sports Media Association. Who am I here with today?
Keith Kelley.
And Mr. Keith Kelley, Mr. Kelley, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, you do whatever you need to do, Zach. Yes.
So, after reading a lot about yourself, your bios, researching about yourself, I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Kelley. My first question is, why in the start of your career did you choose the career path of sports media, broadcasting, overall sports journalism in general?
An interesting story. I was originally going to go to the University of Oklahoma to be a meteorologist. That's what I was interested in. I wanted to, not necessarily the guys you're going to see on TV or anything like that. I wanted to work in like National Weather Service office, storm chasing, all that kind of stuff. And I was set to go. I did my first 2 years locally in Oklahoma and got all basic courses out of the way. And so guy was going to go to we were going to room together. It didn't work out. He went a separate way, and I was like, man, I don't really want to go a place I don't know anybody. And I had a couple friends in Stillwater that were at Oklahoma State. They needed a roommate, and I was on board. And so they didn't have a meteorology school at Oklahoma State, but they had a journalism department. And I said, let's go do sports radio. That was always like a fallback. I really was interested in it. Since I was a little kid listening to Jack Buck and watching games on WGN or TBS or stuff like that. I would actually turn the sound down, and you hear those stories. I would do that, keep score games of baseball and stuff. So that's kind of how it all materialized, and just fell in love with radio. I've done it ever since, all 25 years now. I absolutely love doing radio.
100%. Radios, as someone who's been doing radio, I'm a rising sophomore at High Point University. Do you know High Point?
I do, yes. Of course, they had the big run in the NCAA tournament, of course.
You sound like you would say something just like my father would say. He brags to everyone he knows because I went to the tournament. I took that
Mhm.
trip out to Portland, Oregon. It was one of the craziest weekends of my life. And yeah, as a rising sophomore, I've done 6 radio calls for
Oh,
HPU
sweet.
Division One sports. I've done 4 men's soccer calls, and I've done one men's baseball call, and then a couple women's basketball calls.
What do you like doing soccer? I've done soccer not on the radio. I've done it for University of Wyoming's WyoVision, Mount West Network, and all that. How did you feel about calling soccer? Were you as familiar with it, or did you have to do a little research?
To be completely honest with you, I was terrified at first. Absolutely terrified.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely terrified. I was calling my dad up. I was like, "Do you understand the soccer? Help me out here. I need help. I don't know what I'm going to do." He goes, "Take a breath, Zach. You'll be okay. Just research the game, understand it. It's a lot slower than basketball, what you're used to." He goes, "You'll completely understand it at first." During the game, I sent so for radio calls, we have a link on for HPU Sports Link. We have a link. That's our club that broadcasts ESPN Plus. When we do our radio calls, we have a link which we can send to family, friends, whoever we want to listen to. It's a private link, so no one can access it in the middle of the broadcast. And I sent it to my 2 brothers, I'm the youngest of 3. So my two
Mhm.
brothers, my grandfather, and my mom and dad. I find out 2 hours later at the end of the call as I'm walking back to my dorm, 20 of my extended family members heard me.
That's awesome. Good
I,
for you.
I have no idea how. I have absolutely no idea how. My mom goes, I sent it to a few family members, just forgot to tell you. A few?
I
But it
love it.
was
They're
it was
proud
all
of you.
right
They're
though.
proud of you. That's great. That's great, though. That's
They're they're
great.
they're they're always in my corner. I could never stop thanking them for everything they
Yeah,
do for me. But
for sure.
it was I won't lie, it was decently hard. The rules in soccer, we're a big basketball family, basketball, football, and kind of
Mhm.
baseball family. So the rules were a little more tricky to understand, but as soon as I got the hang of it, I we did half play-by-play and then I switched to halftime and did
Mhm.
color commentary. It was a little hard, but I got the hang of it at the end of it.
Very cool. We had something similar at Oklahoma State whenever I was there. We called it sports practicum, and this is probably blow your mind. We call games into a tape recorder, so we it was, and then we critique each other afterwards, like the following week. So it was the same as you. we'd have, I think for football, 4 people would do it. The first two, or maybe not 4 people, but I can remember one game where it was Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. It was the year OU won the national championship in 2000. I was calling this game though, and it was a great game. It was 12-7,
That's
and
really cool.
I used one of my calls for my resume tape to get my first job, and I think that's what it got. It was Tatum Bell scoring on a long touchdown for Oklahoma State, and it was pretty cool. But the first half, I remember shooting video camera down on the field, and the game was in Stillwater, but OU fans travel well, and they were going to go to the Orange Bowl that year, and they were chucking oranges onto the field, and so I vividly remember that day very well. But very similar into to where you got to call games. It's a great experience. I'm grateful for that experience because I don't know if I'd be here today without it. To be honest with you.
Absolutely, I completely understand. And it's crazy because High Point, our motto is the premier life skills university. And and my school's president, Dr. Nito Kubain, does that name sound familiar?
It does not know.
It does not. Well, Dr. Nito Cobain, he founded our school
Mhm,
almost 2 decades ago now, in 2004, 2003, one of that like that era,
mhm,
and built up our school. And our school went from not no one knowing anything about it a year and a half ago when I was applying to colleges. We had no idea what the school was, and my mom says, "Do you want to go tour it?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? Let's tour it." And a year and a half later, I'd say that was one of the best decisions I made in my life. And
Excellent.
it's a D1 school. Of course, we've been D1 for years and years and years,
Mhm.
decades almost, a couple decades. But going from last year losing to Purdue in the first round to now, I went to watch history unfold at my school of us beating Wisconsin and then losing by 5 points to Arkansas.
Mhm.
It was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And now I can say that next year, this upcoming semester, my goal is to do ESPN Plus for women's basketball. That's my goal.
Did okay, so wasn't it High Point that had the two guys broadcasting that they kind of went viral for their deal? Do you know those two guys?
What I'm about to say might shock you. They're my good friends.
Awesome. That is
They're
so
my
cool.
good
They went
friends.
viral. I mean, that was great. That could have been
Jimmy
you. I mean,
Roselli.
yeah.
Sorry for interrupting
Yeah.
you. James Roselli, Jimmy is his nickname, Roselli,
Hmm.
and Griffin Wright. They last year they really got fame for the Purdue game for how they called
Hmm.
that, and then this year we left on that Wednesday of March Madness week. We had our game on Thursday, and then after that call on Thursday, they went viral. I'm trying to think. In the next 12 hours after the buzzer against Wisconsin, the next
Hmm.
12 hours, Jimmy told me he got like maybe 3 hours at the most sleep. He was up all night recording answers for ABC News, for MSNBC, for
Wow.
Fox Sports, and Fox News Channel. All four of
That's
those,
amazing.
and I'll be honest with you, there were more. He said it was one of the craziest nights of his life. He literally pre-recorded calls, him and Griffin in the hotel room, and sent them in because it was at 3 a.m. and they needed some sleep because it was March
Right.
Madness. But yeah, I'm surprised you know about them.
Oh, of course. You know, we it's anything that big is gonna make the rounds wherever you are. Of course, again, I love radio. I love radio calls. I love those sorts of things. I love opportunities that get young people in our business and into the business. And no, that was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. Another question for you
Okay.
as we dive a little bit more into it. What would you say, Mr. Kelly, when you first got your start into the radio calls and the broadcasting business and the specifically sports media is a very general industry. The specifically the broadcasting part, when you started doing your radio calls, what do you think was the biggest struggles, the few struggles, and the biggest advantages or successes that you had?
Biggest struggles I had was just not being nervous and just being myself, right? I started off in a little town in the Panhandle of Nebraska, Shadron, Nebraska, and I was doing high school sports. I was news and sports, right? I was a one-man gang doing news and sports. And instead of being patient, you're wanting to just get that, as you know, we just talked about that viral moment or that thing that'll get you to the next spot instead of being patient. And I'm glad I settled down because my first few games were not good. They were terrible. You're trying to be cute, you're trying to be funny and all that kind of stuff. And just call the game. Just be who you are. And I think once I figured that out, it started getting a lot better and a lot better. And I'm glad I did because those were two big years for me there. And then here in when I moved to Cheyenne, I've been in Cheyenne since 2003. It's kind of the same thing. You build your notch, build your niche, all that kind of thing. And then when I started hosting my radio show here, that's when I really got to show my personality, I think. Not just calling games, but hosting my own talk show. And I've been hosting this talk show here for over 20 years now. And you really get to have a personality. And again, I've stayed patient. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there were some times where you're like, you're so close to Denver, right? That's a big market. You're so close to Denver. Do you really want to do that? And I think every broadcaster has to figure out what they want, right? I have made that trip to Denver where it's uber competitive and you really have to work hard. I'm not saying I don't work hard by any stretch, or you could be somebody, and I bided my time and ended up becoming the radio voice for Wyoming football, men's basketball, and that's a dream job for me. And I was patient. I stayed here, got a family, have a family, and there was really no good time. But I think early on it was just being yourself and then finding your personality that just does come back into your broadcast, and that's who you are. And you try and be a little funny, you try and be entertaining. That's another thing. You want to be entertaining. You got to be entertaining in this business, regardless of if your team's winning or losing. It's a lot easier to be entertaining when you're winning and your teams win, but you got to be entertaining and just find where you belong wherever you're at.
100%. And that actually brings me to a great point. Someone that graduated from HB Sports, like our broadcasting club here at High Point, his name is Brian Hanway. He said when I first started, when I was it was 2 days before my first baseball call, he said baseball is not basketball, it's not soccer, it's not any other sport. It's long, it's exhausting, and it's draining. He said in between innings, in between pitches, you have to find the stalling time, you have to fill it. Stories are very important. He goes, you have to fill
Mm-hmm.
it. And it's true, even when you're down 2-0 in a series, you got to fill the time. You got to fill something. The Knicks, I'm from New York City. I'm from Manhattan specifically, so the Knicks, I know. And
Mm-hmm.
they were up 2-0, and just like how Wemby came back and they're now down 2-1, hopefully they can go up 3-1 or however tonight's going to go. You got to fill the time. And
Yeah.
the time it could be very boring as a radio broadcaster, or it could be a lot of fun whether you're down or not. I remember for my first women's basketball radio call, it was a full timeout. It was almost a tie game. It was like 1 or 2 point difference, and me and my partner were just screaming, and not screaming, but we were emphasizing
Right.
to the mic. We were because we were like, the building was shaking. It was crazy. We were like trying to hold the mic talking. It was insane when we tried to fill the time. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, and you mentioned baseball, and that's the thing. My high school broadcasts now, I still do high school football every once in a while. I'll do a high school football game Friday night and then go call a UW game Saturday in Laramie as long as I'm in town. If I were traveling, obviously I don't do the high school football, but I don't have a color commentator, and that's tough in football to not have a color commentator. I don't have a color commentator for baseball. That's really difficult, but have I feel like you can have dead air on baseball because you've got, the crowd, you've got other things out there. I think you can get away with a little bit more nat sound coming from your crowd mic in baseball than in other sports just because of the long time in between. But you're right, stories are huge in baseball. If you know something about the player, something like that is interesting, it's so key. And you got to be knowledgeable about the game too, obviously. But story time in baseball is probably the best thing for a radio broadcast for sure.
100%. And it's hard to find those, but you find them
Hmm.
eventually, and in the end, they can help you extremely with the
Yep.
broadcast.
Yep.
My next question for you, Mr. Kelly. You've had so many awards in the last decade or two. You've gotten nominated for awards. Specifically, I'll talk about the NSMA. You've gotten nominated quite a few times. How do those nominations, how do those award-winning feelings, how do those motivate you to want to continue on, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's your talk shit, your podcast,
Mhm.
whatever it is, how do those motivate you to want to continue staying in this industry and like pursue more experiences?
I think early on, I kind of look, I love the fact that your peers, especially for NSMA, your peers are the ones who are nominating and then end up voting. That makes you feel good inside that you're doing the work the right way. They're seeing the hard work and it pays off. And what NSMA does is just tremendous. And I remember the first time I got, what was it, 2007? Was it 2007 or 8 was the first, maybe '06, one of those years. And the first time I was like, oh my gosh, that is like a really big deal. I'm super excited. And it never wavers. And I think anybody would be kidding themselves if they didn't say, you win an award or get nominated or something like that. You're going to have a great feeling. We all have egos, right? It feeds the ego a little bit. But I've also learned to stay very grounded because I know where I started in Chadron, Nebraska. And I never want to forget that because there are so many broadcasters out there and there are so many radio stations or TV stations where people are just happy with where they're at. And I can appreciate that. I mean, I love doing high school football. I loved doing Chadron Cardinals high school football. It was great. And in the state of Wyoming, for instance, we just came back from our Wyoming Association of Broadcasters convention in Green River. There are so many outstanding local broadcasters in this state, and be remiss to leave those out because I never want to forget where you started because I think that's so crucial. You got to stay grounded. Just because you're doing Division I football and men's basketball doesn't mean really anything. I got to be in the right spot at the right time, and I can appreciate that. I worked hard to get to where I was, but right spot, right time is also a key aspect of it. And I'm living a dream. I've always wanted to call college football and college basketball type deals, and that's what I get to do. But I also will never forget my time doing high school sports and winning those awards. It reminds me of that first time when Dave called me up. I had a message. It was kind of funny. I had a message. I just came back from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wyoming just played at New Mexico. And I was just coming in and I turned my phone on and I had a message and I saw it was Dave Gordon. I was like, oh, I remember the first time I got that call, and I was like, that was so exciting because I knew what it was, right? I knew
Yeah.
what it was. Dave Gordon doesn't call Keith Kelley just, and look, Dave's a great guy, but he's not going to call me just for no reason. Maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe he'll shoot me a text or something like that. But you get that call and you got that message. It's like, I know what this is. And I got excited. I felt like I did 20 years ago when I won that first one. So
You
it
got the
means
energy
so
rush.
much. The NSMA, yeah, the NSMA does such a tremendous job. And I remember Salisbury, North Carolina, where it originated, and going to good old Salisbury, North Carolina, and the hometown field that first year. Got invited to, you get assigned to host, and you get to go to somebody's house for a little after gather hours party or something like that, and get to meet all these great people in North Carolina and then all the great broadcasters and writers from around the country. There's nothing better. It's nothing better than that feeling. And yeah, it was great. It's great to be honored like that for sure.
100%. I know. I mean, I'm interning, which means during the award ceremony, me and the other interns we're going to be working it, and just being a part of that
Mhm.
experience is going to be a dream come true for me. I've never been a part of something that I'm being a part of on June 28th and 29th.
I, I feel terrible because I am not. We're not. Me and my wife are not going to be able to be there because we're going. My nephew's getting married June 25th or 26th, but it's in Barcelona, Spain. And so we're leaving next Friday, the 19th, and we're going on a 15-day European
That sounds
vacation.
awesome.
So
That sounds
it's
awesome.
awesome. It's a little bittersweet, not much bittersweet because I've never been over there, but I, I miss coming to North Carolina, and I really, really am going to miss being there for this event because it's so, so cool.
100%. And my last question for you, Mr. Kelly, before I
Mhm.
let you go, I know it's a Wednesday. I know we have stuff to do. My
No,
last
this is
question,
great. This is great. I've enjoyed talking with you. It's been so much fun, Zach.
100%. My last question is actually like towards you, but it's advice. What advice
Mhm.
do you have for a young broadcaster aspiring? I'm currently doing radio, hopefully going to be doing ESPN Plus soon. What advice do you have for someone
Mhm.
like me who's trying to become someone like you in the future?
Do as many games as you can. That's all I can say. Get better at what you do. Try and get better each game. Find your voice. Find whatever it is that makes Zach Fisher, and then can stick out. But be you. Don't try and be anybody else. Be yourself in that scenario. Also, I say do as many games as you can. Don't feel like, oh, I'm calling whatever. I don't want to be grateful for the opportunity that you have to call that game. Also, as I said, be patient. If you're patient, yeah, we're always wanting to get that next big thing, that next big thing. We want to strive for and I'm not saying don't strive to be the best you can possibly be, but be the best Zach Fisher you can be. Don't try and strive to emulate or be somebody else, because just be who you are, be yourself in that situation. And like I said, it's okay if your career, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, that's the most important part of this thing. If you can have a career in radio or whatever broadcasting, if you can just make a career, I've been lucky enough to do, like I said, 25 years of doing this. I never thought I'd be able to do this for 25 years. I was hopeful. I worked hard, and and here we are. If you work hard, find your voice, be patient, and be the best you can be. And that's for anybody else who may be listening. And I know that sounds cheesy and corny and everything, but it's true. It's completely true. It doesn't have to happen overnight. I tell my kids this all the time. My oldest son, who just turned 23, he wants to have all these things done by a certain. I was like, that's great to have goals, but no, you're also extremely young. You have a really good job. Don't forget that you have a really good job. In due time, these things are going to happen. You're only 23 years old. You're just finished up your sophomore year. You're
My freshman
ahead
year.
of the game. Freshman year, excuse me. You're going into
Yeah.
your sophomore year. You're calling games. You're doing things like that. You're getting involved. ESPN Plus, all that stuff. I mean, you're ahead of anything where I was whenever I was your age. So man, just keep doing what you're doing for you and for any other broadcasters out there that are young. Just if it's an internship, whatever it is, just find your foot, find your way in, and do as much as you possibly can. Get as much content out as you possibly can. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. I took all of that to heart. That as someone who wants to be like you, doing radio and not even doing radio, hopefully to do ESPN soon
Mhm.
in my future career,
Mhm.
I want to. My favorite sports broadcaster of all time is Ian Eagle.
Oh, he's so good.
You know Ian Eagle?
I don't know who he is. I know who he is, but I don't know him personally, type of deal. But he is tremendous. He's so good at what he does.
I want to be Ian Eagle. He calls Brooklyn Nets games. I'm a big Brooklyn
Mhm.
Nets fan. Born and raised as a Brooklyn Nets fan. I know, crazy. My family are all Knicks fans. Crazy. And the first game my dad ever took me to is Nets and Knicks at Barclays. And I have a photo every year. Me and my dad go to Barclays Center for opening night. This year, obviously, we couldn't because I'm in college. But for the past more than 5 or 6 years, we've always gone. And Ian Eagle is always on the call, and I've always tried to meet him.
Have you done that? Have you gotten to meet him yet?
Not yet.
Is he coming? Is he award winner this year? Is he
Not
coming?
this year.
Not this year. Dang,
Last
that would have
year.
been awesome. Were
Last
you
year.
interning last year, or is this your first
No,
year
this is my
interning?
first year with NSMA.
Oh man. Are you excited to meet broadcasters?
I'm so
Are you
excited.
nervous?
Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm very nervous. I've never experienced anything like I'm experiencing. I told my parents the other day that I'm expecting to stay at the office. Next weekend is Father's Day weekend. I'm going home to
Mhm.
surprise my family. And then
Sweet.
the week after, I'm expecting to be here at the office for till like 10 p.m. at Monday through Friday because I'm expecting to not get any sleep Saturday or Sunday. None. I'm so excited. You have no, I've never experienced something like I'm going to experience
Yeah.
on June 28th.
I've had a lot of memories pop up on Facebook from past trips that I've made to North Carolina. My first one was Jim Nance. I got to meet Jim Nance, and he was one of my favorites. But my third time coming, Dan Patrick was the national award winner, and he brought his show, the Danettes, with him and
That
everything.
is
And it was
so
so
cool.
cool to meet those guys and everything like that. That was neat. Dick Vitale, got to meet
Yeah,
him.
that
He,
is
he's
so
he's a nice
cool.
guy.
We
Yeah.
just posted Dick
So
Vitale's birthday was yesterday, right? Yeah,
right, it was yesterday.
it
Yeah,
was
Mike
yesterday.
Tirico. Yeah, I remember.
I want to meet Mike Tirico one day
Yeah.
so badly. My brother just graduated from Syracuse last month in May, and we went up there, and Mike Tirico was the commencement speaker.
hmm I mean, who was it? The Indiana broadcaster, Don Fisher, who's won the NSMA award for like 100 years in a row or something like that. He
Mhm.
he was tremendous. Of course, he got to call a national championship in football. He was good. I met the Ohio State play-by-play guy that played golf with him and everything. So
This is my dream.
it's so
Those are my
cool. Yeah,
dreams. Sorry for interrupting you,
yeah,
Mr. Kelly. That's
you're good.
my dream is to call. I'll say right now at first, my dream is to call a natty. That's my dream
Yeah.
to do play-by-play for a natty. I'm not gonna say Super Bowl or NBA Finals because I want to look one step at a time. One step at a
You can, it's
time.
okay to have dreams. But it's okay to have dreams, man. It's okay. Like I said, my dream, I don't know if my dream was ever that. My dream was to be uh, a Division 1 broadcaster,
Yeah,
and I feel comfortable with that. I've got a great family, two boys. One's out of the house. One's going to be a senior in high school. Great wife who loves my job. The fact that every once in a while she'll get to travel sometimes and everything. She came to Hawaii. We played a game in Hawaii last year over Thanksgiving, and she got to come on the trip to Hawaii with me. So that was really
that's
cool.
awesome.
Bowl games, things like that. So I've got a really supportive wife, great family, and I think that those I love my job, but I love that aspect of it even more. So it's just about finding your place, man. You're so young. I thought I can remember you said freshman or sophomore. You're so young, and you've got a lot of I can already see it, Zach. You got a lot of passion for this job and this business. So there's no doubt in my mind, and I don't know if you've heard this before. It's no doubt in my mind with as much as you've got going on right now, you're going to be very successful with this. So,
Thank you
I
so much, Mr.
yeah,
Kelly. I really
yeah,
appreciate it. I'm gonna end the
for
recording
sure.
here, but Mr. Kelly, I would
Yep,
love to stay in touch. I
yeah,
would love to stay in touch and just have you in my corner for one day.
yeah. What's your phone number, and then I'll shoot you a text, and you got my number, and we can just do that. Okay.